250 ethnic groups with different cultural upbringing.
The prevailing fuel crisis that began early in the year is now becoming quite complex and taking a toll on socio-economic life of Nigerians and businesses. Now, tempers are rising and show of frustration remains the order of the day as motorists struggle for every drop of petrol that enters their vehicles. Businesses are already feeling the heat as some businesses have to temporarily shut down, while many are crawling to survive through load shedding to cut costs of fueling, or better still, to manage the little available. The astronomical rise in the price of diesel and scarcity of aviation fuel are other issues arising from the petroleum sector, putting pressure on Nigerians. On this edition of Nigeria Today, we seek to unravel the fuel scarcity as it lingers on and the effect on Nigerians and businesses. Thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Ochi. With me to discuss the issue here in the studio, I have three guests. Let me introduce Tengi George Ikoli, Senior Officer, Nigeria Program, Natural Resource Governance Institute, NRGI. She has been a strong advocate of deregulation of the downstream sector and general reform in the oil and gas industry. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. We also have our in-house analyst, a regular face, Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, is also set to put issues on perspective. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Lydia. Good evening, Nigerians.
I also have a player in the industry, Yakubu Suleiman, National PRO, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right, before we set the conversation in motion, okay, let's now go straight to our conversation. Now, let me begin with Jide. Why do you think the situation has lingered on for this long?
Unfortunately, so it has for the fact that Nigerians have quite ironically do not have any functional refineries. We've been able to meet our OPEC quota in terms of crude oil production, but as you are aware, the federal government is making strenuous effort to revive the 4 ailing refineries we have in Nigeria, which is what led us to importing refined petroleum products. We are told in January that the adulterated fuel, which actually was the beginning of the recent fuel shortage, came in from Antwerp in Belgium, and there were a lot of bulk passing in January. But from there, what we are learning now is that because of the war going on between Ukraine and Russia, the fallout of that is affecting refinement and shipping to Nigeria. But had it been that we have done our own work and done the needful in terms of ensuring sufficient local production of refined petroleum products, we will not be at the mercy of international politics as has been enunciated that the war between Ukraine and Russia is impacting on smooth shipping of this product to Nigeria, because we do not know when this war will end. Does that then mean that Nigerians will have to continue to queue for hours on end in order to procure petroleum products? Diesel that was selling for 350 or thereabouts weeks back is now almost 800 naira per liter. And like you said in that background, socioeconomic lives have been negatively impacted. And right now, I wish Dangote refinery is coming on stream this very month end. Maybe that will have given us a fillip that at least with it coming on stream, we will not have to depend on fuel importation, because this whole paradigm was as a result of having to import refined petroleum products.
In the first place. Now, Tengi, let's get your own perspective in this, on the situation in the country with the fuel scarcity.
So, a lot of the comments that were made, some of them I align with. One of the issues that I had raised some months back was that obviously Nigeria had come into these issues in some degree because of limited refining capacity. Our refining capacity in Nigeria is about 18% typically on average, and now Nigeria has gone into refurbishing its Port Harcourt refineries. But then the question is, how long till that comes on stream? And also, is Nigeria the best sort of route to taking that on? We had initially advised that looking at the NLNG model would have been a good approach in getting these refineries quickly resolved, by getting private sector in, and then obviously the government playing a role, but ensuring that we were able to replicate the successes that we've seen in other models. That was one. Another aspect was in deregulating the sector and opening it up so that you would have other players to be able to import the products as well, despite the issues that we're having with the Russia-Ukraine crisis that has come on board. Opening the sector up as well would have been another option to allow more players than NNPC to be able to import our petroleum products as well. But unfortunately, the terms within the Petroleum Industry Act, which was meant to allow for that, had been stood down until 18 months, where initially it was meant to be 6. And so potentially, if everything had been done to open up that sector, we may have limited challenges that we're currently facing. Okay. And obviously, with what's going on with Nigerians as well, it's something that is very critical. We have a lot of hardships going on right now, and typically the funds that are spent on subsidies, for instance, could be spent on other areas of the economy, not savings, but diverting it into other areas of the economy, because there's never there hasn't been a line item for subsidy for a while. So it means that those funds that are being used for that could be otherwise spent on other sectors of the economy to potentially relieve the challenges that Nigerians are facing in general. Okay.
Now let me go to Yakubu. Yeah, why did it become so difficult to get fuel from fuel stations? Black marketers seem to be at ease with the situation, and they are everywhere making bricks business. Why is this so? And where do they always get their own fuel from?
Thank you very much. What, black marketers, we have a lot of problem with them, not only government. But I believe if government can put a lot of effort, there has to be a task force that can go a long way to take them away from the roadside, or rather even going to the filling station, disturbing the station managers or pump attendants to get fuel. Most of them, connives with some vehicles owners or these motorbikes that can join the queue. They don't mind. They can join queue for 2 days even to get fuel. Or they come and put it on their own jerrycans so that they can go and get money. I know a lot of people are, putting the blames on our stations. But to be frank, independent petrol marketers has its own tax forces in conjunction with the civil defense and other police that always go around to stations to checkmate that kind of activities. Yes, of course, in every household, you cannot say you have about maybe 10 children that their habit could be the same. Certainly there must be bad eggs, but I'm assuring you, almost the 8% are good, and we are doing our best as IPMAN, and that our members should cooperate with us so that we serve the nation. And I want to tell you that, yes, like my previous speakers have stated, that due to those exigencies they have mentioned, of course, we must find ourselves in trouble like this. And I thank God Ms. Tengi said that had it been the regulations has been accepted by Nigerians, we wouldn't have found ourselves in this situation.
Okay.
And but I want to tell you, by God's grace, soon we'll get out of this mess.
Okay, let me hear from Jide, the GMD of the NNPC Limited and the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources had at different times assured Nigerians that the company has enough in reserve to serve Nigerians. What then is the problem?
I think they are just being clever by half to say that they have enough in reserve. Obviously, they didn't have. They did not have. And I mean, it pains me because we are going into an election year and this is happening. And the backlash, if this is sustained in the coming weeks, restiveness may creep in and we may start having protests on the streets of Nigeria. So government needs to think out of the box. They told us that there are 3 modular refineries that are supposed to come on stream last year. What is the state of those 3 modular refineries? They have been doing this, they borrowed $1.5 billion to fix the Port Harcourt refinery. By now, at least, even if it's an emergency, we are like in a war situation, Lydia. I think we are just not coming to terms with that reality. We are in a war situation. And everything humanly possible needs to be done. You cannot continue to, I mean, this year, government earmarked 3 trillion for fuel subsidy. I'm not a fan of subsidy. I've written in my column in The Punch, I've said at several fora that we should do away with this subsidy so that we can have more players in the sector. But I am a minority. You saw how the Nigerian labor unions threatened to go on nationwide protest on January 27 at the beginning of this year, when federal government said by June they want to do away with fuel subsidy. Now, we are paying, or federal government will be paying trillions for subsidy for products that are not readily available. It's a paradox. We are losing money, we are losing man hours, we are losing economic life. Productivity is at the lowest ebb.
Definitely, yes.
So where do we go from here? The bottom line is that the federal government needs to urgently do something to ensure that the market is wet with these products. You can see last week, the aviation sector were even threatening that they have only 3 days of Jet A1 fuel readily available, and they were about shutting down their operations before they agreed with the House of Reps to sell for 500 naira per litre, which has also hiked the price of seats on flight. So the rich are also crying.
Yes.
Many businesses who are operating on diesel now cannot afford it. Okay. Today, what is it? This the subscribers, TV subscribers, DSTV and GoTV has already increased
definitely
the packages of their products, which is just a ripple effect.
Definitely.
The telecommunication companies are also threatening to also add their own because of the fueling of their base stations.
Okay, we need to take a break now. There's really a lot to talk about. Please don't go. We'll be right back.
It has been a terrible experience actually. There are different queues in the filling station. There's a queue for those that can pay 1,000 naira and get their fuel as quick as possible. And there's a queue for the normal people like us. All filling stations they're used to the same thing.
Anywhere?
Everywhere.
As yesterday, I couldn't move with my car because I did not have fuel. I used the public transport to work yesterday. I did the same thing today. And if there is no NEPA, I will live in blackout. We cannot afford to buy it at the rate of 500 naira per liter at the black market rate.
I said, no, we know the problem of fuel now, scarcity of everywhere. There's no fuel. Everybody is struggle up and down before you can get fuel, which is not supposed to be. In filling station in my own side, even though we are spending for go slow for over more than 3 hours because of fuel, because of the filling station. But there they will close it at night. They are opening it to sell it for the marketers. Even though it's very scarce for car to be washed, to be get fuel, than that jerrycan that they are selling. They sell on jerrycan cylinders and others like that. They will call them from house in the evening to come and collect it.
I don't know when this is going to end, but seriously, we the poor masses, we are really suffering this. It's been hell because you can be on a queue for hours without even getting fuel, and the black marketers are just fixing price the way they want. Can you imagine? You can get black marketers do sell fuel of per liter 550. Where do we go from there? And we don't even know where this is ending. I stayed on a queue from 5 a.m. today up to 11:30. I just have to go out because I couldn't get a fuel.
Nigerians there voicing out their frustration is really a challenging situation. Now, let me go to you, Tengi. You have been an advocate of deregulation or regulation in the petroleum industry. One would have expected that with the PIA, all these issues would have been laid to rest. What is your opinion on this?
That's a very good question, and that was one of the successes that we had in the PIA having been passed. But like I said, unfortunately, those provisions were then stood down. I don't know that it's actually been amended in the Act yet, but there was some commitment. It appeared by the government that had said that they will have to step that aspect down. And here's the challenge. With deregulation, you have an open market system. You have a level playing field amongst all the players. Initially, now you have NNPC being registered under CAC. So NNPC, as you mentioned earlier on, is now limited. Its focus is meant to be commercial, and it's meant to operate the same as any other oil company. And so it's supposed to have that same level playing field. But now we're pausing that aspect of the Act. What you then have is NNPC reverting to the original role, pre-limited, and acting as the importer of last resort, without that level playing field that you initially meant to have. And so that increases the opportunity for Nigeria to have these petrol that we're all grappling about, which is quite unfortunate. That was paused for 18 months, which will take us to about 2023. And these are systemic issues. And the reason why we have pushed for that deregulation, because we wanted those issues finally resolved. But without that having been the case, this could potentially happen again, because it's not enough to have just one importer. Like any market, for instance, if you have more marketers, more people sort of in the market, you have a good opportunity of having your product at a better price. At the height of COVID in 2020, you had the government committing to deregulation, and then thereafter you had the law that then supported it. But then the challenge there was not keeping to that commitment and rolling back. And at that point, it may have been easier for Nigerians to accept the deregulation, because at that point, you know, there was no additional subsidy figure. We're actually was more on that recovery at that point even, you know, so recovery at that point even, you know, so there was so many opportunities at that point. And these things continue to happen because it's systemic. These are structural issues that need to be resolved. And as long as, if Nigerians now, they've seen that now, you have at certain places, the products going for the person said 500,
Yes,
at the black 550 at the black market. You know, if we had allowed this free market system to operate, it likely would not have been that price.
All right.
But because we didn't allow that at the time, and to monitor this as time went on, we have now come to this point.
Okay.
So what we're fighting against, you have now come into, because we didn't understand potentially what that meant, and how to resolve those issues. So I think this is a good thing for Nigerians to remember, that these are the issues that come about, and maybe potentially moving forward, we can now all adopt and support this deregulation, because clearly it is in our best interest.
It's okay. Now, Yakubu, about 48 filling stations across Abuja were also designated to serve the public for 24 hours. Now, we realize, however, that the filling stations are not forthcoming with this arrangement. And sometimes, even when they do sell at night, you might just see one pump or two pumps serving the people. And before you get in, sometimes people pay about 1,000 naira to enter to buy. How will you react to this?
Yeah, I want to tell you, and I will plead with you to go and make a closer observation at these filling stations. No any filling station owner or worker that can stand by the gate and say you must give him 1,000 naira before entering the station for you to get a fuel. Certainly there must be securities or whatever. But I want to tell you, we are ready. Our members are ready 24 hours to serve Nigerians, especially Abuja, because our priority now with NNPC and IPMAN, MOMAN, is that let us wait Lagos and Abuja. When Lagos and Abuja is fully served, then later we can, you know, concentrate on the outside stations. If you can understand that most of these queues that are, you know, happening within Abuja, some of the vehicles are not the residents of Abuja. They just come in to Abuja. It's most of them. So if you didn't flood Abuja with a lot of fuel, there has to be a problem. So that's why our members made that sacrifice, that let there be 24 hours services. And if you can monitor enough, or rather very well, that any station that you saw one pumps that is serving in the stations, that much definitely might be most of the tanks has emptied. Because once there is a fuel, there is no way for him, for his safety. Once there is a fuel, in the stations, for his safety, he must serve with all his service pumps.
It's okay. Now, Jide, I want to get your own reaction. Okay, for example, where you reside, or your locality, where you live in Abuja, what has been your personal experience so far in getting access to fuel?
It's been very unsavory. It's been very painful. I weep. I've had to leave very early to go queue. And on few occasions that I'm lucky to get the fuel, it's like you've won a lottery. Even paying, you know, willing to pay. Because I've been at the mercy of black marketers since January. I can't afford to queue for hours on end. You saw that Vox Pop. A guy that left his home 5 a.m. was on queue till 11:30 and still didn't get fuel. So how does he transact his business? He has to depend on black marketers. You know, I won't blame the black marketers. They were not there in December. They were not there in November 2021. They came because there is a vacuum.
Yes.
If today Abuja is wet, nobody will buy from those boys. Nobody. They saw an opportunity to eke a living. That's why they are doing it. And they saw the more there is scarcity, the higher they will hike their own price. Because they are also taking a risk in procuring this product. So I think we just need government to come up with a better strategic plan because we can't wait on war between Russia and Ukraine to end for us to have the massive back. We need, even if it means all our institutions of higher learning where they are studying petroleum engineering. If all of those professors need to be assembled to go and make some of our refineries to work, at least let them start producing, because this is not a rocket science. After all, in Niger Delta, boys that are ill trained they are producing this oil. They are refining, artisanal refinery, even though they spoil the environment in the process. But if people who did not receive much training could be bridging the supply gap in the Niger Delta and pumping the cities with diesel, with PMS. Now let's have our engineers, petroleum engineers from universities of technologies, let them assemble them to go and see whether it's modular refineries we have to do in the short run, whether it's a Dangote refinery we want to see whether one or two of its proposed, the ones that are ready, if they can come in. But we cannot endure another month of this first scarcity.
Well, I think that sums it up. There must be a way forward. We must find a way to come out of this situation. Right, let me at this point thank my guests, beginning with Tengi George Ikoli, Senior Officer, Nigeria Program Natural Resource Governance Institute, NRGI. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. And
I also thank Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, a regular face. Thank you for always being there for us to share your rich views. And also the National PRO, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Yakubu Suleiman. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
And I want to thank our viewers also. Thank you for being a part of the program. Remember, you can still watch this episode and other ones on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Till I see you again, I am Lydia Ochi. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Here you will discover Nigeria's religious and cultural diversity.